Okay, this is an extension video for working with maps, ratios on maps. The map I'm showing you here is a map used in the UK. I know this area quite well. This isn't near where I used to live, and one of my favourite camping spots is just down here. It looks like it's quite close, and in a minute we'll talk about the distance on the map from there to there is about 3 centimetres. 4 centimetres if we follow the path dogleg. So one question that we want to ask is, what does 4 centimetres mean on the map? That's what we need to work out. Now the path, actually it's that path there. According to normal measurements, that 4 centimetre path should take me have taken me about 40 minutes to walk maximum with a heavy pack. It took me about an hour and a half. And the reason was, if you look at all these lines, there's about 500 metres of ascent, and 500 metres of ascent tends to add about 100 minutes to it. So it used to take quite a long time. So this is what we're talking about with maps. We're not talking about the height part at the moment, but we're talking about, if you measure a distance on the map, how long is it? So we'll start with the ratio. This ratio assumes everything on both sides is in the same units. So let's put some standard units on. The map is on the small side. Otherwise it wouldn't be a map. And the real world is on the larger side. There are scales which go the other way around, and that's when you're doing magnification, like you're using the microscopes in science. So let's add units to this. We start with 1 centimetre, and that is 50,000 centimetres in reality. So we want to get a meaning for this map, because 50,000 centimetres doesn't mean much to people. And what we've got to think about is doing our unit conversions. So a 50,000 centimetres. Now if you remember, I showed you a technique where if I take the units and put those units on the bottom, and then think, what do I want to convert to? Oh, sorry, not on the bottom, in the opposite position. So centimetres on the top here. If I put it on the bottom, the centimetres is going to disappear, and I want to convert to metres. So what's the conversion? We've got 1 metre is 100 centimetres, and that means that we're going to take 50,000, multiply by 1, divide by 100. So that tells me now that this is going to be the same as move 2 places smaller. So 1 centimetre is 500 metres. An uncommon distance, so what you might often see. So at the moment we know 1 centimetre is 500 metres. That's fairly usual, that's not bad. People normally actually want to deal with this sort of mapping in terms of kilometres though, just because if you're going to do a day's walking, you're going to wind up walking maybe 15, 20 kilometres. So is it better if we could work this into kilometres? So we do the same trick. I know 500 metres. I want to convert the metres on the top, so I put metres on the bottom, to kilometres. What's the conversion we know? 1 kilometre is 1,000 metres. Effectively we're saying these two things are the same. So 1 centimetre is half a kilometre. And more logical would be if this was in whole numbers as well, if we simplify the numbers. So decimal number over here, how do I get rid of that? I double it. So I'm going to multiply it by 2. Multiply by 2 to turn this into 1 kilometre. And on the right hand side, multiply by 2 is 2 centimetres. So I now know 2 centimetres is 1 kilometre. So now I can actually use that in my question. I know 2 centimetres is 1 kilometre. I want to turn it into 4 centimetres. What do I need to multiply by? 2 times 2. So I know that's 4 centimetres is 2 kilometres. Okay. If I tell you the length of Buttermere Lake is 3 kilometres, how long is it on the map? Actually, it wasn't Buttermere, I think it's Crummock is 3 kilometres. Oh, you can't see Crummock. Okay, let's take a distance on the map. So if I was to walk up this way, I know this path quite well as well. It goes all the way up to a point somewhere up here. And that path there, I know is 7 kilometres. So we've got a new question. We'll come on to these 2 maps in a moment. I'll just move them out of the way. So these 2 maps are out of the way. So if I got a distance 7 kilometres, how far is it on the map? I can take any of the units I already know. I know 2 centimetres is 7 kilometres. And if I want to turn that into 2 centimetres is 1 kilometre, sorry. Take it from there. So I want to change this. I'm going to work out that number there. And I know this is 7 kilometres. How do I change the values? Multiply by 7. So we've got 14 centimetres is 7 kilometres. Okay, so that's how you can use maps. But it's this interpretation of what 1 to 50,000 means. I'm going to do 2 others quite quickly for you. This map on the left is a 1 to 25,000 map. To 25,000. So this one is a 1 to 25,000 map, and it shows pretty much exactly the same map areas I've got over here, which is an engineering map, a town planner's map, which is 1 to 10,000. I'm going to do the 1 to 10,000 conversion. This one's left for an exercise for you to do is, what's this conversion rate mean? So the 1 to 10,000, put units to it, 1 centimetre and 10,000 centimetres. These 2 maps are specifically chosen because they cover the same distance. And a 1 to 25,000 map, you can see it's a lot smaller. The 1 to 10,000, there's a lot more detail. There's more space for the map to reflect what's going on really. You get more detail about the houses, the buildings. Knowing that there's a pier. This doesn't show the building and the pier itself, this one does. So we've got all of this to work through. So 1 centimetre is 10,000 centimetres. I want to convert the units on the right hand side. So I'm going to use my conversion routine. So 10,000 centimetres can be turned into, take the denominator. So centimetres on top cancels with centimetres underneath. Let's change it into the next scale up, which is metres. 1 metre, 100 centimetres. So I'm going to take 10,000, multiply by 1, divide by 100, and that gives me 100 metres. So this engineering map is actually a scale of 1 centimetre to 100 metres. And that means that they can plan buildings quite well. There is another map scale that you've got as well to do if you're doing the extension. This map or globe, I've got a globe at home, but when I measure it, the distance across Australia is actually 8 centimetres. And I want to know what's the scale of this using usable scaling units. We'll talk about what I mean by usable scaling units in a minute. If it's an exam question, they'll tell you what units they want both sides. I know the distance in reality is 4,000, just a bit over 4,000 kilometres. So I want to know what is the scale of this world map I've got. So what we say is, what are the two bits that we know are equivalent? 8 centimetres is equivalent to 4,000 kilometres. We want to give this in a simple ratio. That means I need to convert down to centimetres so I can remove the units. I can only get rid of units from a map when the units are the same both sides. So this needs converting to centimetres rather than dealing with a very small distance on this side. So once again, lots of conversion practice. 4,000 kilometres. Kilometres, I want to cancel the kilometres on the top, so I need a kilometres on the bottom. Units on the top is metres. What's the conversion? 1 kilometre is 1,000 metres. Notice with this technique I don't have to think about multiplying or divided by 1,000. This fraction is built up by saying these two things are the same. So 1 kilometre is 1,000 metres. I don't have to worry about multiplying, dividing, and letting the mathematics tell me what's happening. I can then actually continue and convert. So that's got rid of the kilometres. We're now in metres. I want to get from metres into centimetres. Then I've got these same units both sides. So 1 metre is 100 centimetres. So let's scroll through and get the next step. So 8 centimetres on the right hand side is 4,000 times 1,000 times 100. That's 400 million centimetres. Now I've got centimetres both sides. I don't need to worry about them. I'm now looking at numbers that I can divide. I can divide 3 by 4. So this is a ratio of 2 to 100 million. Notice the units are no longer needed. They can be cancelled. Cancel the units at that point, and we divide by 4. Take the map again. I can still divide 3. So 100 divided by 2 is 50 million. And so this map has a scale factor of 1 to 1,000 to our Land Ranger map, the bigger ones. So that's about using maps and scaling, converting units, and what these units mean. One of the exercises for you to work more with them. But the big practice is in this conversions. I don't mind if you use a different conversion technique, but this is the one I find people reliably work with when they try using it. You put the units on you start with the units you've given. Anything you want to change goes into the opposite side, it goes below. So kilometres go below. There is a situation we'll come to in a week or so where we've got speeds, so we've got kilometres per hour. If I want to change that and cancel the hours go on the top for the conversion. They go into the opposite position to get rid of them. Okay, now that's the video on maps for you. All of these will be produced as notes as well.